Welcome to Bed, Back, and Beyond, sharing positive stories of recovery from serious back or neck injury. Your host is CK, a fellow champion who draws on her own experience with herniated disc surgery. Join her as she talks with others who have overcome the physical and emotional trauma of a painful injury, and discover for yourself how you can find hope and encouragement in recovery.
Hi, Chelsea. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Bed, Back, and Beyond. Before we dive into your injury, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am 34, almost 35 years old. I am a nurse practitioner, and I live in Florida.
Nice. And you do book reviews on TikTok, right?
I do, yes.
Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere. I'm still holding out hope.
I know, I'm hoping.
Do you have what favorite book do you tend to read? What types of book?
Honestly, I go back and forth between like fantasy romance, and then thrillers. So I kind of like bounce back and forth between the two.
Okay. I'm currently reading The Quiet Tenant. Have you read that yet?
I have not. But
okay. I did see other people reviewing it on TikTok.
Yeah.
So far, so good. So when did you get hurt? How did your herniated disc journey start?
So March of 2024, I had went to SeaWorld with my mom and my kids and just normal stuff. Didn't even ride any rides. And I remember I was pushing the stroller like normal, but just normal stuff. And then probably 3 days later, I noticed like an ache in my lower back. And I thought, that's weird, which I've had some muscle pain before. Obviously, with being a nurse, it happens. But it was just like really aching. And then the next day, I was like kind of having to hunch over to where it wouldn't hurt so I could walk. Then the following morning I woke up and I just took one step out of bed and it was excruciating pain going down my right leg. It wasn't even my back hurting. It was just that nerve pain from that sciatic nerve that was shooting down my right leg. I couldn't walk. I was literally bawling on the floor. And my husband ended up having to leave work and come home and get me and take me to the ER. So that's kind of where we started with the journey.
Okay. And as a nurse practitioner, were you saying, this is a herniated disc, I know it? Or
I was like, something's not right. And the first thing I thought of was, it's got to be something like, it's not a muscle. I knew that. And I was like, it may be a disc. I never had any issues with my discs or back or anything before that. So I just knew it was not a muscle and something was real wrong. And I knew it was affecting my sciatic nerve, but I didn't know exactly what it was.
Okay. Did they take images that day in the emergency room?
No. So the crazy thing was, that was why I went there. I wanted to answer like what was going on. So I went to the first ER and they gave me like a muscle relaxer and a lidocaine patch and said, well, you need an MRI, but we're not going to do that here. So you need to follow up. And I was like, okay, which this is my own fault. I don't have a primary care doctor. I'm 34. I've had babies and never had any other issues. So I just never had one. Yep. So I thought, okay, well, now I'm going to have a long journey to just get a primary care doctor, which in Florida, right, it's really hard to do because there's just so many people. So I waited like a week and then I ended up having to go back to the ER. I wasn't sleeping at all because the pain was so bad. And I felt like I was losing my mind, to be completely honest with you. I was like getting real dark and depressed. I couldn't sleep. I was trying NyQuil, Benadryl, anything to help me sleep. Melatonin, I would maybe get an hour of sleep at night. And then I would just start walking because it felt a little bit better to try and walk, even though I was walking slowly. So I went back to the ER. And I told them, I don't want anything for pain. That's not why I'm here, even though it hurts. But I just want to know what this is. Something's not right. And the doctor sat down and looked at me and said, well, I got to be completely honest with you. You need an MRI, but we're not going to do that here because you haven't lost sensation of your bowel and bladder. And basically said, well, we could do a CT, but it's probably not going to show anything. It's going to waste your time and your money. So you really to follow up with a neurosurgeon. And I thought, okay, like again, I'm just getting shoved out the door, basically.
Yeah.
So same thing. He wrote for more like actual pain medicine, muscle relaxers, like anything. They were just throwing everything at me, which wasn't helping. I didn't want that.
Right.
Thank God that they followed up. Someone along the lines of the trail at that second ER visit followed up and called me and asked how my pain was. And I was like, excruciating. And he was like, well, I'm going to refer you to pain management. And I was like, okay.
Yep.
So lo and behold, the one like person, care team, whatever, that I didn't feel like I needed ended up being the one to like help me, because I got to pain management and that amazing nurse practitioner ordered an MRI for me. And I told her that's all I want right now. I just want to know what's wrong with me. But she also, instead of giving me just pain medicine, sent in a prescription for gabapentin for me and duloxetine, which I had never been on any of those, but I had read that it helped a lot of people with that nerve pain. So she got the ball rolling with my MRI finally.
Yeah. Jeez, that was just my same experience. I went to the emergency room just one time, and I saw a physician assistant, and he just said, "This sounds like a herniated disc." Here, they gave me a shot for pain, and then 3 days of a steroid, and said, "Go see a back doctor."
Yeah.
So then I had to, make an appointment and wait to see a back doctor, who then, which was like a week wait, who then ordered the MRI, and that was another week wait. It's fun.
Yeah. It's a really big struggle, which I understand why they can't just, run an MRI on every person that comes into the ER with some back pain. But it's so hard to get across. Like, your body, and you have to fight with the providers that assume you're drug seeking, and then the providers that assume it's really not that bad because you're not, scratching at the handrail. So, it's not that bad. You're probably fine. And it's amazing to me because I saw those 2 different ER doctors, the pain management doctor and a chiropractor, all within this short realm of trying to like figure out what was wrong with me. And when I finally got my MRI read back that showed a 20 millimeter herniation, the chiropractor was like, how are you walking? Like, you shouldn't even be functioning right now. Like, they were all just so taken aback. And he did tell me, which, said, well, thankfully you didn't get the MRI that day, because you would have had emergency surgery that day and not been prepared for, what to expect after.
Right. So did they put you in physical therapy at all? Or are they like, nope, this needs surgery?
Surprisingly, they didn't, which I was nervous because I had already at this point waited 3 or 4 months before my surgery date, just with the normal hoops and everything. They did make me do a like epidural back injection, which I didn't want to do, but they made me do that for insurance purposes to approve the surgery. And they said they may have to have me do physical therapy, but I think they ended up writing off my chiropractor visits because I had been going for months as like a form of physical therapy. And I don't know, somehow they ended up saying I didn't need it. And then I asked if I needed it after surgery, and he said, no, I was healing fine. Symptoms were good. So they didn't have me do it.
Okay. Had you canceled patients at this point, like completely?
No. So
were you still trying to work?
Surprisingly, I was still working, but it was bad. I had to lay down on the floor in between patients, and I had ice packs. I had heating pads on me. I was taking my medicine, the duloxetine and gabapentin, just trying to get through, because between the doctor's appointments I was having to go to, and I had to leave work twice with the pain to go to those ERs, I didn't want to lose all my PTO. So I'm just like trying to get by. And miraculously, I looking back at it now, I don't know how I did it, because that pain was so intense, but somehow I got through it.
Because you're a woman.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
So how did you get recommended to a neurosurgeon, or did you have to decide neuro versus ortho?
So yes, the day I went to that second ER visit, they like put a referral neurosurgeon on that paper for me. And I actually had called them like that next day to try and get in with them. And then when the pain management place that visit came, the neurosurgeon visit ended up getting scheduled like 2 weeks after the pain management visit, which worked out, because then I had my MRI to take to that neurosurgeon's office. Right.
So how long was it in between hurting yourself and then actually going in for surgery?
I hurt myself in March. My surgery was the beginning of August.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Was 5 months, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just basically lived in a back brace with the gabapentin and the duloxetine, and got through.
Did you find a comfortable position to sleep in? It's always the biggest question. How do I sleep?
No, and I tried all the things. I tried the lifting your legs up, like your knees, having them bent. Honestly, I slept, well, quote unquote slept on the couch for a good probably month. My mattress was too soft, and I didn't know that at the time, which learning all the things I've learned since going through this, all the things you have to change in your life for like better back health. That was one thing. I bought a brand new mattress that was like firm and hard, and that ended up being great. But no, I slept on the couch for a little bit. I laid on the floor for a few nights. We have these nugget couches that are like my kids' play couches. I tried those, slept in my son's bunk bed one night. I mean, it was just any position I could try to get into was what I did to get some sleep.
Yeah. And were you in and out of the surgery in the hospital one day, or did you have to stay the night?
Yeah, it was same day surgery. I went home a few hours after waking up from anesthesia. So it was really nice.
No, that's great. Yeah, I got stuck there. I had to stay there 3 nights. I had my herniated disc was glued to the dura around my spinal cord. And so they tore the dura. And so I think they did a blood patch. So I had to stay in the hospital flat on my back for 3 nights.
Did you have a drain as well?
Did I have a what? I'm sorry.
Did you have a drain?
No.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And thankfully I don't have children, so I didn't have that concern on top of all of that.
Yeah. That was another added thing. And that's what I was most nervous about was the surgery. Like, it's your back, it's your spine. Anything could go wrong. Like the doctor could sneeze and there goes your mobility. Like I was just more worried about that part of it. And he kept telling me, you'll be out of here same day as long as nothing goes wrong. We don't have to place a drain. And I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be the one that has to end up having a drain. Like I was so worried about it, but it worked out, thankfully.
And how young are your kids?
So they range in ages from 13 to 1.5.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's 4.
So. Were you dealing with mom guilt?
Yeah, it was
were you able to
hard because the baby, I couldn't pick her up. Like my neurosurgeon told me flat out, like you're not going to be picking her up anymore. I had to stop basically doing a lot of the 2 little ones as care, which was really, really hard. And even after the recovery, he was like, you can't lift over 10 pounds for so many weeks and then 15 pounds. So that was really hard. Like not being able to pick up my baby like that. It like killed me.
Yeah. I see that a lot on the threads. Just moms like,
yeah,
will my baby forgive me? Like this, I try to say, this is just a brief moment in time. A year will pass in no time.
Yeah, that's what I kept trying to tell myself. I'm just like, she's not going to remember it. I mean, it's me that's remember. It's not her. She won't remember that.
Yeah. Did you struggle emotionally at all afterwards with like the anxiety of reherniating, or do you feel like your medical background helped protect you a little bit?
It's a double-edged sword, honestly. It helps that I know some things and know what to do and what not to do, but I also know some things that also make it to where I'm nervous constantly. Like I still have anxiety about reherniating. And I keep telling myself if I can get to the 1 year post-op mark, that'll be even more like solid rebuilding in my back and stuff, just healing. But I still have that constant fear because I don't know what it was that caused my herniation. And that was my biggest thing. I kept asking, everyone, well, what caused this? What did I do? And he just basically, my neurosurgeon told me it could be genetics. It could be the fact I'm 5 foot tall and I've had 4 babies, and that's a lot of weight on your back. Also working as a nurse in the hospital, you are doing a lot of patient lifting, just improper body mechanics, not drinking enough water. I mean, there's so many things that could go into causing it. Yeah. And that's my biggest fear. I don't know what I did or what exactly caused it. And I don't want that to happen again ever. So I definitely have that anxiety.
Have you made plans on what you're going to do as far as spine health goes? Any kind of exercise programs you're looking into?
So I want to get back in the gym. That's my big thing. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out because I'm scared to do a whole lot of anything. And, you read that walking and running is good for you in some senses, but then it's not good for your discs to some sense. So I'm like in the middle right now of trying to navigate what I should do to just strengthen those muscles in my back and just keep remembering, proper bending, lifting, all that stuff. But I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah. You said you weren't required to do physical therapy after surgery, right?
Wasn't. And again, I'm like, that might have helped some more, honestly, after surgery, obviously. But they said I didn't need it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I found physical therapy so helpful in the realm of getting over the fear of moving again.
Yeah.
They are telling you teaching you how to bend and how to lift and
Yeah.
helping you to twist again, because, they said no twisting for 6 weeks, but
Yeah.
it was like 3 months and I'm still,
Yeah.
moving in a
Sure.
stiff way. And physical therapy was a great emotional support, I feel like, for me.
How long did you do it for?
The physical therapy, I think it was, gosh, my surgery was 2019. So I'm
Okay.
trying to remember. I want to say 8 weeks, but I'm not positive.
Okay. And do you ever still have that fear of reherniating, or you feel like a brand new person?
The first year after my surgery, I was an emotional wreck. It felt like PTSD, and any
Yeah.
little twinge, I would just break down and sob. So like it took me 6 months to feel normal physically, and I think it took me a year to start to recover emotionally from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do still get flare-ups where if I had a really hard day at work or something, I'll have to heat my back and just relax. But the next day I'm back to being pain-free. So I'm not worried about reherniating like I was that first year after the surgery.
Yeah.
In fact, it's other people that drive me crazy now that are like, Christine, you shouldn't be doing that. I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah, that is so true though. Like, I think so many people don't understand that, just how much emotionally that messes with you. Like, I've had people reach out to me and, tell me they were like depressed and had thoughts of suicide because they were in so much pain with their back and they didn't know where to go. There was nothing that was touching it, helping. And it really is a dark place to be in. And you're through that, you don't want to go back to that. And I think that's where that fear comes from for a lot of people.
Yeah. Now, how was your recovery process? Was it pretty smooth, or did you have a lot of flares during it?
Honestly, it's been amazing, and I was really worried about that, but no, I just really stuck to what the neurosurgeon told me as far as restrictions. Every once in a while, I still get my right calf will spasm and like almost like a Charlie horse and cramp up, and my right butt like spasms as well. And I, like you said, I think it's all dependent on what I've did that day, and just things like that, because the next day it's gone and it's never pain. It's just that like tightening. I can feel it like jumping almost.
Yeah. And are you back to lifting and everything at work? Or are you still a little bit on restrictions?
Yeah, he told me life as normal. Basically just, don't do anything that wouldn't make sense to do. Like his example was, if you're gardening, don't be the one to pick up the bag of mulch, like let your husband do it and things like that. So yeah, I pick up my baby now. She's like 22, 23 pounds. So I do hold her now, but I lift correctly now. Like I bend down with my knees, pick her up, and then stand straight up and keep her close to me, not, out swinging or anything with my arms with her or anything like that.
Wow, that's great. Is there anything you would like people who are currently in this situation to know?
Honestly, just to keep advocating for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you or diminish your pain. I don't know how many times I heard when my MRI was read that, oh, I thought it was just going to be 3 or 4 millimeters. I didn't think it was anything big. Your body and advocate for yourself. Like if something's not right, you have to speak up and keep trying to navigate a way to get an answer, basically.
Yeah, that's great. Chelsea, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show and share your journey with us. I'm so glad to see that you're feeling better and back to work.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I like hearing your story as well. It really is helpful to know someone else went through this and they came out on the right side of things. So it's great because a lot of times it's always the negative we hear. And I'm just happy to hear that you've been through this and you're doing good.
Yeah, doing great. If you are a listener and you have a positive story of recovery from a serious neck or back injury, head over to bedbackbeyond.com and click share your story. I would love to include your voice on the show.